handy kitchen. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make raised pies. I'm going to do one traditional raised pork pie and I will also be showing you how to do a vegetarian option. So here we go. First thing I need is a big saucepan. Into that I'm going to be pouring, this is around 150 mils of water. I will put the weights and measures at the end of the video. In this bowl I have, it's vegetable shortening. Usually this can be used in a chip pan or whatever. The one that I've got here is not the one that you use at high temperatures, so there are some different options for that. And then I'm going to put this on high and hopefully melt this. While we're melting this, I'll explain what I've done with the rest of the ingredients. In this bowl I have oat flour. I made this myself and it's very, very easy to do. You can use any oats, rolled oats, quick oats, all sorts. All you do is you pop it into a food blender or processor, blitz it until it comes to fine powder here. Now this I quite often add to pastries because it's very good for you, and especially if you've had a stroke or something, or if you've got high cholesterol, this is perfect to help reduce that. So in this bowl, I'll keep an eye on this while we're talking. In this bowl I've got around 550 grams of flour, and into that I've put a couple of big spoonfuls of the oat flour. Now that is optional, but in terms of health it's probably a good idea. It won't affect the recipe in any way, shape or form. So what we're making is a water crust pastry here. Into my flour I've got a good 2 teaspoons of salt. Probably not the healthy option. If you can get some, if you use salt that hasn't been iodinized, I think it's probably better. I'm just going to move this around a bit. What we want to do is to melt that vegetable shortening into this water, and once it's melted we're going to bring this to a rapid boil. It's now melted and I'm bringing this to a rapid boil. What I'm going to do is poke all of this flour into that in one big go. There we go. Pop it onto a tea towel. I'm going to move my stove out of the way onto another bowl because it's very hot. Okay, so now either using a wooden spoon or a Maurice or both, carefully incorporate all of that vegetable shortening into your flour so that it's sort of cooking it quickly. As you can see, I'm going to need to change to my wooden spoon because I've started it off but I've not got it in properly. Now if this is quite hard to do, you're going to have to use your body. Funnily enough, the pan's not as hot as I thought, or you think it's going to be. Right, there we go. You can see that's all coming together into one big lump. When you've got it to sort of this stage where you're happy that you've picked up most of the flour and it's coming to a lump like this, what we're going to do is put it on a board or on my non-slip mat and we're going to work it a little. This is obviously quite greasy at this stage. We're going to work this a tad. Now, you'd think that would burn but I can assure you it doesn't. So we want to literally work this just until it's not cracking anymore. It will feel really quite, look, as you can see, soggy and loose. What I'm going to do now is pop this in the bowl to chill down while I prepare meat or filling. The pork pie filling, you need to chop up meat. I'm using pork. Now it needs to be really quite fatty to give the pie some moisture. Please don't go for very lean meat. It needs that fat in it to cook. So using my bowl, as you can see, I've just pushed it right down, and I'm going to slice that through the middle, move it along and pop it back on. Now what we're looking for is bits this sort of size, and you just keep working along that. Now if you've got one hand, you can obviously hold the meat. If you've in a situation where you've only got one hand, this is the way to go with it. As you can see, that holds it really well, and you can just chop off bits. So there you go. And then we pop those into a bowl. As I said again, all the weights and measures will be given at the end of the video. Okay, now you just keep going until all of your meat is prepared. Now not all of my bits are exactly the same size. Some little bits, slightly bigger bits, and it will all sort of bind together. So that's how you would manage chopping the meat up. If you can't do it, you really can't do it yourself, you can either ask your butcher or get a friend or someone else to do it for you. Okay, the only other thing I'm going to put into this in terms of meats or anything else is a couple of anchovies. Seems like a funny thing to be put in a pork pie, but believe me, it really makes a difference. There's a very famous, I nearly said it then, I'm not supposed to be saying what it is, but it's one of the famous pork pies, let's say, and I used to buy them when I was in England and absolutely loved them. So I do know that this gives exactly the right flavour. Now all I've done is use 3 anchovies here, and that will go into my meat mix. Now I'm batch cooking today because I don't like to do a job like this without making the most of it. So for a £1 pork pie, you will need 1/5 of this. I'm going to be making these, wrapping them in greaseproof paper and foil, and I'll be freezing these once they're cooked. Very last ingredient. All I need to do now is pop into this meat some seasoning. Very, very basic seasoning. I have salt. I'll get that all out because it really does need that for the flavour. And black pepper, which I'm going to use quite liberally in here. All I'm going to do then is work that in with my hand. Make sure you get that anchovy through the meat. Salt all the seasonings, preferably all the way through this meat. Then I'm going to cover this, pop it into the fridge. Okay, for my vegetarian option, you can use actually lots of different things. What I have in this bowl is I chop some onion and mushroom, and I sautéed them until they were just soft, as you can see. Into that I put salt and pepper and some turmeric, which has given it this wonderful colour. You season to taste. Again, I'll put the weights and measurements and process at the end of the video. In this bowl I have tofu. Now this is smoked tofu, and all I've done with this is cut this up into small pieces and pan fried it, just to give it a bit of an edge. Now I'm going to pop my mix here into a bowl with this pan fried tofu. My traditional bang the bowl, make sure that we get it all. Stir that all together. At the end of, just before the end of cooking the mushrooms, I put a tiny drop of cream into it. If you're not wanting cream at all, you could use some soy milk. Just pop a little bit of soy milk in, and it gives it this creaminess that you can see there. Okay, again, I'm going to pop this to one side while I prepare my cases. All of our ingredients are now prepared. I like to make these for Christmas, hence making these today. Okay, so what I need to do is flour my board a tad, because I'm going to roll this out now. Here's my pastry, still looking a tad floppy. Roll. What I'm going to do is use this to cut my base. Just push really hard. Then I'm going to peel this away. This can just be reused, not a problem at all. Now you can see how thick I've done this. That then, in theory, should lay into the bottom of my tin. I'll give it a shake, drop it to get any air out. And this has gone in lovely. Just push it to the edges. Traditionally this is done around jam jars, and that's fine if you can do it. I'm going to struggle with that, so this is the way I tend to do it. So I have my base in there. I'm going to do two of these because I'm going to do one with meat and one with the vegetarian option. So here we go again. Roll it. I'm using that circle as a basic guide to how big I need this. There we go. Again, I'm going to use my tin and push. Peel this off. That will help for the lid. Just put it back in shape a tad. And again, try and line one side up, the rest should go. And then just make sure you pop that in. Okay, that's two bases ready to go. Now the recipe that I give you will make a £1 pork pie, which probably is around this size. I'm doing multiples because, as I said earlier, I like to batch bake, and these freeze really well. I'm doing the vegetarian option because I feel eating less meat is a good idea these days. Also, with the price of everything, I do believe that it's a better option all round. We eat far too much meat. I definitely do. As you can see, I'm making a slightly long piece. I'm going to trim the top, just so I've got a bit of a straight edge going on there. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then I'm going to cut that down the middle. And then I'm going to cut that across, because if I try and pick up too much of this in one go, it's going to just fall everywhere. Right, you can see what I'm doing. I'm just trying to line this tin. I'm going to join the flat edges sort of together. I do need another piece of this, so here we go. Just trim that a tad, and then I'm going to do the final part here, pushing in and trying to make sure that you've got a sort of relatively even pie base there. Okay, here we go. That's not too bad, is it? Now, I don't want all the juices to fall out, so I'm just going to go round the edge with my thumb like this. That's one done. This pastry is really, really good, really malleable. You don't have to worry too much. It's quite greasy, it moves, it's good. And it will pick up quite well, so long as you've got a little bit of flour there. As you can see, I'm not using much. That looks like it could be about right. Again, trim the edge just to give me a base to work from. And then, judging the height of the tin, just trim that. And we'll get on to the next one. Pop it round as best you can. Pushing in. And then I need another piece here. This is a bit like playing with Play-Doh. If you've got an artistic streak, you'll be doing quite well with this. Me, I'm not very artistic. Okay, so I'm going around the edge just to seal the bottom, because the last thing I need is for that all to come out. There's going to be juices being produced in this. Okay, first of all, I'm going to go for the vegetarian mix. Now, again, I'm using my ice cream scoops to pop that in. I quite like these with plenty in there. Doesn't that just look delicious? Right, so now I'm ready to make a lid. So we know roughly how big the tin is. Again, I'm just going to roll this out. I would like a decently sort of thick lid on this. Oh, see, sticking to my rolling pin. There we go. Even I forget to do these things. As I said before, sometimes things just don't seem to go right. And I do know when you've got stroke brain, if anybody understands that out there, this is what happens. You forget. But not a problem. Look at that. It still worked. Now, I'm just going to check. That will go all the way around, and it very likely will just push it out of the edge there. So I have some water, and I have a little Maurice, and what I'm going to do is just damp those edges here of the pie. Same as doing anything else. Just damp it. That's all we need to do. Pick this up, pop it on top, and then I'm going to push down with it into the side. I'm not very decorative here. So I'm going to chop off excess. Just give that a quick bit of a cut around there. because I don't want too much overhanging on this. Then you can just pinch your pie and make a little pattern. You can use a utensil to do this if you want to. I tend to be a bit slapdash with my decoration, I'm afraid. But that's looking quite pie-ish, isn't it? Yes. And there we go. That's that done. Now, last of all, I have a little bit of beet neck in my bowl, and I'm going to just coat the top, nowhere else, just the top of my pie. Do it gently, give it a good generous coating, because this is all the glaze this is going to have on it. Okay, that's that. And there we go. I'm going to make a little hole in it so it lets some of the steam out in the middle. I'm using my finger here, that's not ideal, you should have a knife, but I forgot to put one in. And there we have it. That's one pie ready to go. Now this needs to be chilled for 4 hours so that it sets properly before we even begin to think about cooking this. Right, we're going to do exactly the same thing with our meat. For our pork pie, again I've got ice cream scoops to put this meat in. Now this has just been resting, chilling, whatever. Make sure you get a goodly amount of meat in. This will render down, but what you don't want to be doing with this is packing this one too tight. With the vegetarian option, it's not a problem. What you want to do is just gradually move this meat round, because when we're finished cooking, we're going to be putting some stock into this with a little gelatin. And so we need some space in that. That meat's going to shrink back, the fat's going to render down, and then we're going to put the gelatin in afterwards. Again, make a lid. The recipe I'll give you is for one pie of this size, as I said earlier. You can use multiples. I don't like making all this mess and effort without, you know, making it worth my while. So I'm actually making the equivalent of 10 £1 pies today, and I'm going to make them in various shapes and sizes. I'm going to wrap them, put them into the freezer once they're cooked. Okay, here we go again, same thing. We're going to put water around the edge of here, just to make it damp to seal it. And then we're going to pop a lid on top, exactly the same. Again, pinch it round, exactly the same process as we did with the vegetarian option. There we go. I'm going to trim the excess as I did before, because we don't want it looking that ugly. Even my cooking isn't quite that ugly. All of these bits can go back in your bowl. No worries at all. There we go. And then I'm going to go around again and pinch those together around the edges. Again, you can get tools to do this with. You could go around the edge with the fork. All sorts of options. I'm just showing you how I manage this in the kitchen, which of course is why I'm doing these videos in the first place. If there's anything that you would like to see me try and cook, please just put a comment and I'll have a go. Right, I'm going to make 2 holes in this, and they need to be fairly big. That will let my steam out, and when I come to put my gelatin in, that will be beautiful. Okay, I'm going to crack on and get the rest of my pies put together. Well, here are all my pies, and I'm very, very pleased. They look lovely, I think. They've not been cooked, obviously. I've chilled these in the fridge overnight. They've all had their egg wash, and I'm now going to put these into the oven. I'll give you the oven temperatures and timings on the sheet at the end of the video. So here we go. I'll see you again once these beauties have been cooked. I've taken the pies out of the oven, and as you can see, they're looking really good at the moment. We've got one job left to do, not on the vegetarian version at all. So we need to take those out, right out of the way. So I have here, it's a patisserie syringe. You can pick these up anywhere, and I think this was less than €1. So I have my gelatin mix in here, and all these little holes we made, I'm now going to inject them with this gelatin mixture, which is why I'm not using them on my vegetarian option. So just place your syringe into the hole and very gently squeeze. And we want to fill these as much as we can, or as much as it will let us, before it comes out. And that's all we need to do, is just fill these with the mix. That will give us that classic sort of jelliness that you get inside these pork pies. Of course, as I said before, the vegetarian option doesn't need this, because we put some cream into, or milk into our mix. That should be quite moist anyway. Okay, I'm going to continue doing this, and I'm then going to pop them into the fridge to set. Well, my pies are now set, hopefully, and look at these. How lovely is that? Beautiful. So, I'm going to open these up and we're going to see how they are. So taking my sharp knife, oh look at that pastry. That is proper pork pie pastry. Now we've got here the beautiful, beautiful filling that we put in of mushrooms and onions. I've sort of damaged this one a bit cutting it. I'm not very good at this. This is something that I would normally get my husband to do, and it may have looked slightly more pretty. But here we go. We need to try this as we do normally. I'm going to try and pop that back in so it looks a bit better. I've made a proper mess of this. Okay, I'm going to try this because I'm not a vegetarian, but what I'm trying to do is use my regular recipes and try and adapt them. If you've had a stroke, or just if you want to eat more healthily, I'm trying to make my usual recipes, but in a more environmentally friendly, pocket friendly way. Oh my lord, that really does taste good. That really, really is good. And as I say, I've made a right mess of it. That pastry is really, really good. Okay, as you can see, I've got little pies, I've made big pies. What I intend to do with these is to wrap them, and the big ones as well. I'm going to wrap these up in greaseproof paper, kitchen paper. Just fold them over, and then I'm going to put them then onto some foil, and I'm going to double wrap with foil. Then they can go straight into the freezer as they are. Okay, let's have a look at our pork pie. Wow. Now, this is looking really good. I am so pleased with this. I don't know if you can see this on my close-up picture. That is absolutely packed full of meat. If you're a meat lover, great. I've got a little bit of jelly running round through this. This is not my forte on presentation. Look at this. You've got a lovely bit of gelatin around the edges, and this looks lovely. Oh, very good. Now, I call that a success. Now, as I said before, on many of my videos, my cooking isn't always beautiful, but I can tell you what, it's darn tasty. So, if you liked my recipe, if you liked my alternative recipe for the vegetarian, or you just want to try it, please like, share, subscribe to see me make more delicious, affordable food. Thank you for watching.